This is of course HITC Sevens, and in this chaotic world in which I now do 11s and other such non-sevens based videos, sometimes it's nice to restore some order and normality with a good old fashioned 7. Sometimes, on particularly enthralling occasions, we even manage to slip a second 7 in there for good measure, such as my video on the 7 best teenagers 7 years ago and where they are now. Today is one of those days, and we have a subscriber to thank for sending in this suggestion, which I found to be quite an intriguing one. Now, obviously someone like Jadon Sancho wasn't very well known 7 years ago, given that he was 12 years old, so we have only considered players aged 25 and above. I've also been quite strict, so anyone who was playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues or internationally 7 years ago is out, and you're unlikely to make it if you were playing international youth football either. For example, the likes of Mohamed Salah, Kevin De Bruyne and Harry Kane were all considered too high profile in 2012 to feature here, before you suggest them in the comments. Here are the 7 best footballers no one had heard of 7 years ago. Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson is only 27, so perhaps it's no great surprise that he wasn't a household name 7 years ago. However, you might be surprised to learn that a 20-year-old Wilson had only made 2 first-team appearances for his boyhood club Coventry City and was yet to bag his first goal. What's more, in the season that followed, the 2012-13 campaign, he scored just 1 goal in 11 games in League One. The following season will be Wilson's breakout season, as the pacey youngster bagged 21 goals in League One and 22 in all competitions. That was immediately followed by a £3 million transfer to Bournemouth, where he struck 20 plus goals once again in the Championship, playing a major role as the Cherries won promotion to the Premier League. His introduction to top-flight football was halted by an ACL injury shortly after a hat-trick against West Ham, which is just about the most devastating injury a footballer can sustain. It's taken some time for Wilson to find his feet again. He's maybe not quite as quick as he once was, but he is a bit better built and more of an all-round threat. He bagged 15 goals and broke into the England team last season, and it's fair to say most followers of the Premier League are now well aware of the frontman. Jamie Vardy. Another centre forward, I must admit that I personally did know about Jamie Vardy 7 years ago, as would most followers of the English non-league game, but globally, and for the purposes of this 7, I think he's a perfectly valid inclusion. Vardy made his first foray into senior men's football in the non-league game with Stocksbridge Park Steels, having been released by Sheffield Wednesday as a boy. Impressive form earned him a £15,000 move to Halifax Town, followed by a £250,000 transfer to Fleetwood Town, and eventually a potential £1.7 million switch to Leicester City. The fee paid by the then Championship club made Vardy the most expensive non-league footballer of all time, and there were 1 or 2 doubts about his ability to cut it in the second tier. The Englishman took some time to adjust, bagging just 4 league goals in his debut campaign. He kicked on the following season as the Foxes won promotion, and then it was a similar story in the Premier League, where Vardy scored just 5 goals in his first season, but an incredible 24 the season after, winning the Premier League Player of the Season award as Leicester won a remarkable top-flight title. Between the 2015-16 season and now, only Harry Kane, Sergio Aguero and Romelu Lukaku have scored more Premier League goals than Vardy. Riyad Mahrez. Sticking with 2015-16 title-winning Leicester City stars, if you'd heard of Riyad Mahrez 7 years ago, you either support Le Havre or you're his mum. The 28-year-old broke through from the League Deux side's reserve team into the first team in 2012, making 9 appearances in the 2011-12 campaign. That rose to 34 appearances in 2012-13 for the second-tier outfit, and 6 months later, he'd caught the eye of Leicester City. Mahrez scored 3 goals for the Foxes in his first half-season there in the Championship and 4 the following season in the Premier League. Then came the Leicester City explosion under Claudio Ranieri, and Mahrez bagged 17 league goals and 18 in all competitions from the right flank. That made him Leicester's Player of the Season, the PFA Players Player of the Year, and the African Footballer of the Year. He continued to impress at the King Power before pushing through a £60 million transfer to Manchester City. That's an awful lot of money, and Mahrez wasn't without his critics last season, but his statistics, in terms of goal involvements per minute, were actually among the best in the Premier League. Whatever your views on his role at the Etihad, few can deny Mahrez's rise since 2012 has been nothing short of meteoric. Callaloo Coulibaly. From one French-born African international to another, in at 4th, we have Callaloo Coulibaly. Now widely regarded as one of the best centre-backs in the world, this time 7 years ago, the Senegal star had just joined Genk in Belgium after a season in which he played 22 times for Metz in the second tier of French football. He went on to have 2 really solid seasons in Belgium though, before Napoli snapped him up for around £5 million. That proved to be a masterstroke, and the now 28-year-old has got better and better in each of his 5 seasons in Naples. Coulibaly was initially released by Metz as a 15-year-old for being too much of an introvert and being below the levels the club expected of its youth players. He's now one of the most accomplished and assertive central defenders on the planet, coveted by numerous European giants and reportedly valued by Napoli at £107 million. Positionally sound, dominant in the air, and comfortable striding out from the back with the ball at his feet, Coulibaly is a really well-rounded defender, and anyone with even a fleeting interest in football has heard of him in 2019. Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson is the youngest player in this 7, aged 25, so it is worth pointing out for those of you who struggle with mathematics that he was only 18 7 years ago. If you look at the majority of top-class 25-year-olds though, say Samuel Umtiti or Paulo Dybala, they were being widely discussed as prospects of real note at 18. In fact, both were already playing top-flight football in a major league. When Andy Robertson was 18 though, he was playing semi-professional football for Queen's Park in the 4th tier of Scottish football. To put that in some context, Queen's Park average around 550 fans at their home games, which is above average for that level of football. Robertson impressed with the Scottish minnows, having been released by Celtic though, and in 2013 he joined Dundee United. After a single season in Scotland's top flight, Robertson joined Premier League Hull City. He looked very raw but talented and wasn't a regular fixture under Steve Bruce. He developed a lot as a player in the Championship following Hull's relegation, and he has been an absolute revelation since his 2017 transfer to Liverpool. Robertson is now among the best left-backs in the world. He hit double figures for assists last season, and is a huge fan favourite at Anfield. He deserves to be in this 7 as much as anyone. N'Golo Kante. Making it a trio of Leicester City title winners in this 7, and the 3 best players from that side you'd have to say, all 3, emerged from almost total obscurity just a few years earlier. N'Golo Kante is 28, but his professional career only began in 2012 at the age of 21. That was in Ligue 2 with Bologna during a season where the club were relegated and Kante made just 1 appearance. He was a regular fixture the following year as the club finished in the bottom half of France's 3rd tier, a league that comprises of professional, semi-professional and amateur teams one or to add. Kante had done enough to earn himself a move back into the 2nd tier with Con in 2013 though, where he spent a couple of seasons as a virtual ever-present. Then came the call from Leicester City, whose master talent spotter Steve Walsh had recommended the purchase of the Frenchman, who arrived for a fee of £5.6 million. He spent just a single season with the Foxes, but what a season it was. The tireless midfield destructor played in all but one of Leicester's league games, making the PFA Team of the Year as Leicester won the title. He joined Chelsea that summer, where he won a debut Premier League title once again, this time winning the Premier League Player of the Season award and earning himself a Ballon d'Or nomination. Then came the 2018 World Cup, which Kante obviously won with France, and that put him in Ballon d'Or contention once again. All in all, it's not been a bad few years for the chirpy little midfield gem, who is now arguably the best player at Stamford Bridge. Virgil van Dijk. In top spot, I think I have to go for Virgil van Dijk. Now, one could argue that Virgil van Dijk was too high profile 7 years ago to feature here, given that he was playing for Groningen in the Eredivisie. That would be a fair criticism, except for the fact I would respond to people who'd say that by asking them, had you heard of Virgil van Dijk at this time 7 years ago? I suspect the answer would be no, except for the 0.00003% of people watching this video who actually support Groningen. In Van Dijk's breakout campaign, the Dutch outfit were almost relegated, although they did a little better in his last season there, finishing 7th. Van Dijk left Groningen to join Celtic for a reported £2.6 million, where he had 2 outstanding seasons before joining Southampton for a reported £13 million. Although he has been in some respects a bit of a late bloomer, only making his international debut aged 24, and only having reached the knockout stages of the Champions League for the first time aged 26, Van Dijk has always been a good player. It just took him time to get the right opportunities, develop as a character, and really prove himself at the highest level. He left Southampton to join Liverpool for £75 million, making the world's most expensive defender for 18 months. He's brought heaps of authority, composure, and calmness to Jurgen Klopp's backline, and now considered by many to be the finest centre-back on the planet, it would be safe to say he's pretty well known in 2019. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, in fact please do, and make sure you're subscribed to HITC Sevens. Oh, and head over to www.englandsgreatestdefender.com to have your mind blown by the best football book ever written.